Hey guys, this is John with the Alpha Channel Update here in Los Angeles for Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. And today I would love to invite you guys to check out my science fiction fantasy audiobooks here on YouTube. 26 hours of awesome audiobook fiction, Legacy of a Mad Scientist and the Legend of Ashley Fox. It's about this kung fu superstar growing up in the future of Los Angeles where she has to fight a bunch of serial killers and government agents. If you like sci-fi, if you love Terminator, Conan, and anime, today we're going to go over Gray, number 3. This would be right up your alley. You'd really enjoy this. If you're into audiobooks, a lot of people need the visual stimulation. Some people can't do the simply oral storytelling, but that's all right. I won't hold that against them. We have a comic book for you too, Ashley Fox, The Last Valkyrie. It's just black and white interiors, but the link is in the description here. It's a PDF. You can check out Ashley and Valeria as they rescue a bunch of kids from a Pizzagate underground satanic, I don't know what you would call it. They're not really a pedo cult, they're more of a sacrifice cult. So yeah, also, I'm going to do this first today. We have the Wildwood Tarot. Today we have a really nice card. Here's the Hooded Man. This is the book for the deck. Again, I thought this deck was going to be huge, but it's not. It's just almost regular playing card size. Today is the Ace of Arrows, the Queen of Arrows, the Swan. I don't know so much why she's the Queen of Arrows. I guess when a swan flies, when swan dives into the lake to catch a fish, I suppose they're very aerodynamic. They're pretty aerodynamic in general. But the artwork in these cards is just amazing. I've never played Magic the Gathering, but Quentin Hoover did a lot of art for them. And what he did was really unique. So comic book guys do the contour lines in black. But if you go back and watch some of the old Disney stuff, say, I remember Sleeping Beauty especially, the contour lines were in the colors of the costume. So if the girl was wearing like a dark red, or I think she was wearing a mahogany colored skirt, the contour lines were a darker red. And her shirt was like a sort of a tan yellow, the contour lines would be a darker yellow, kind of like the shadows are deeper green. They're not necessarily black. But you can check this out for free, and check this out for free here on YouTube. And today we're going over Gray number 3, parts 1 and 2. This is an amazing cover. If you look really closely on his neck and his eyes, that's cross-hatching. It's not zip tones. That's hand-drawn cross-hatching under the cover of his helmet and his neck there. So this is an awesome, awesome book. Check out the opening picture. So Gray and Nova, I was mistaken yesterday. Red had been Gray's instructor. He taught him everything he knew. And in the book yesterday, the end of part 2, Red got attacked by scavengers and blown up. And I had mistakenly thought that this was close to the village where Gray lived, but it wasn't. It was just an unrelated bombing in the village where Gray lived, actually in the ghetto where Gray lived. And if he had been in his place, he'd have been killed, but he was staying with Nova, and he had to go back and get his helmet. And Gray has decided that he has to rescue Red. So this is Gray and Nova discussing what they're going to do. Nova's not leaving his side. Everything he goes through, Nova's staying joined at the hip. And I've been thinking about this. This is a little bit like the Lone Ranger and Tonto, I suspect. Whereas it's easier to do exposition if you have a newbie with you who asks you everything you're doing. Tonto's not necessarily a newbie, but the Lone Ranger on his own couldn't really do radio shows because he had no one to talk to. It would have had to be constant narration or exposition. Now there's some books that work that way. There's some books that work with, thought. Cormac McCarthy threw out all punctuation. No periods, no quotation marks. But that's a little bit like what it's like anyhow. 67% of communication is body language. 27% is tone and emphasis. And the last, 7% is the actual words you say. So reading words is not the whole story. Then again, when an actor produces an audiobook and they decide that a mentor character is going to be an antagonist, there's no going back from that. I remember listening to The Gunslinger by Stephen King, and I think the main character's name is Gage, and I don't remember the main character's name, but remember the main character's name is Court. The main character is Court, and his I remember when I read the novel, I made his instructor a what's it called? A beneficent tyrant. So yes, he was telling the kids what to do and he was hard about it, but it was for their own good. Let me back up and explain what's going on here. I'm getting off track a little bit. Gray and Nova have broken into an aircraft hangar. They have to fly down to Africa to find out where Red is. Gray is going to steal some escape packs and air bikes while he asks Nova to pop the lock on this jet. This is like an F-15 cargo jet or an F-16 cargo jet. I don't know what the Tomcat is called. I think it's the F-16. And Gray gets the air bikes, but Nova gets caught by a guard bot, and she shoots it. So that sets off the alarm. And I'm believing I'm getting a little off track here. I talked about Cormac McCarthy and all kinds of stuff, and clearly not staying on track. Here's Nova shooting the guard bot. Everything's pretty much managed by drones in this future, the way it is almost now. I saw a thing today where some guys in New York smashed the face scanners at the subway terminals because they're attached to Zionist corporations. So Gray gets the air bikes. He tells Nova to take off without unlocking the jet, which destroys their landing gear. That's pretty significant. Not that they know how to fly this or land it, but more action. Gray landing the air bikes inside the jet while it's flying. And of course they get pursued. This is really well done. Actually, check this out. So Gray, let's see what's happening here. Yeah, Gray's hauling 2 air bikes and he lands them in the back of this jet while it's flying. Which is a cool move. I have something like that in one of my upcoming stories where some kids rip off a cargo truck, an anti-gravity cargo truck in flight. So this is them escaping and being pursued and destroying the enemy. Or actually just being pursued at this point. But they do have reverse beam cannons, which Gray uses to destroy the enemy bots. Or they might be actual real pilots. I doubt it. Nothing else is real. So it's all been robots so far. So here they are, escaping, traveling overland. The artwork, I'm in no hurry for this story to end. I love how much space there is. Now you could never do this in Marvel. Marvel would demand a much faster storyline. This is a really sort of a lazy kind of pace. It does advance the story nonstop. Here they get attacked from the ground, and they have to deal with that. Everything about this book, I love the characters. I love the way they're drawn. I love the way they look. Now they do look a little similar. There's some panels where it's hard to tell Gray's face from Nova's face, and you just have to go on the hairstyle and who's talking. Her face is a little bit thinner than his, but he's, a young guy, so, he's not wearing a beard or anything. Look at this explosion over here when they destroy a surface-to-air missile base. This is so much better in the cartoon. The YouTube link is here in the description. It's probably only 720 by 480. It might be hard to get this in HD these days. Although I probably, if you buy the DVD, it's probably still standard def. I seriously doubt Viz uprated it. And that's the end of issue 1. So, actually that's not that. So their jet has been damaged and they're not going to be able to continue to fly it. They have to bail out on the air bikes. And this coming up is a very cool little bit that he wrote into this. I would love to try and use a version of these air bikes for my anti-gravity racing game. I'm going to be able to get a lot further with that in the immediate future here. I've been waiting on some extra cash. I'm getting some bills taken care of, and so I will soon have some extra cash every payday. This is awesome. So they're on these air bikes that have these massive jets where they can change direction relative to the rider. And Gray instructs Nova on how to land it. And really what the author is doing is showing the audience how he worked out landing an air bike at full speed from, high atmosphere. Check out what they're doing. They have to disconnect the rocket and point it down to break their fall. It's a really clever idea. And he designed this. It's not like this exists somewhere. Yoshihisa Tagami created this air bike. Do you know what I mean? Like, he designed the entire thing, mechanics and how it runs. I have this with my girl Ashley has a gyroscopic hoverboard with 4 plates on it that, depending on where you place your feet, it depends on how it propels you backwards, forwards, left or right. I animated all of it, so it works really well. And I appreciate the level of effort he took with this. So here they land, and they're looking for Red. He's somewhere in Africa. And they come across the scavengers who shot up Red's vehicle. I love how they have their tank painted up. This also made me remember the comic book Tank Girl. I never got into it because I really didn't like the movie, but I'm having second thoughts now. Maybe the movie didn't do the comic book justice, and that's worth giving another shot, or giving a shot. That's one that I never read. I've been thinking about what I'm going to do after this. I really want to stick with... hold on a second. I feel like I'm giving you guys too much shadow on these pages. And I think I can fix that by moving this light a little bit. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this cuts off the shadows from my fingers across the pages. I think it might a little bit. I'll have to make a note of that. But so here they're fighting a tank, and of course they don't do any damage to it because it's a tank. It's just so well done. I love everything about it. They also have to fight off some, these guys on bikes. They get into a duel with them. Let's see here, is that right? Now here they're escaping, and they're looking for the wreckage of Red's truck that he was in with Cricket. Cricket was the other character's name. And the other thing that they've been talking about, this is the important part of the story. Yes, the plot's developing and they're changing their location. But what Gray and Nova are discovering, the equipment that they stole from the base at Town 303 was equipment they never get to use in battle. So clearly Big Mama, the name of the computer, had much better equipment than she was parceling out to the troops. And the stuff they're coming up against in these other towns is also way more advanced than anything they've got at home. So they're trying to piece together why there's such a disparity in equipment, why some towns have garbage and some towns have first-rate stuff, and why a town that's constantly going out to battle with garbage has first-rate stuff in the basement or in a back hangar that's not being used. Why are the towns not fighting for everything they can? And they're beginning to realize that the fights are staged. I mean, that's the only answer you're going to get. So here they find the wreckage. They find the recording of Cricket and Red's last conversation. They find Cricket's corpse, and they discover that Red has been taken by the scavengers. And the whole the truck has been stripped of anything worth of value. So, what's happening here? Yeah, this is where they finally figure out what they have to do and where they have to go. So they are now on their way to rescue Red, or to find his corpse, discover which is the case, and they come upon this Japanese temple. which they're surprised by since they're in Africa, or they should be surprised by. They don't draw attention to that, but they do mention that it's an Asian religion. And, you know, this guy's Japanese, so he's drawing the stuff that he knows. And they're infiltrating. They're deciding if they should, you know, flank the building, come in from the back. They can't attack from above because of surface-to-air missiles. They can't go underground because they don't have anything to tunnel with. So they decide on a straight shot. And instead of the author having them, well, here we go. They're heading in. He really does take his time with this story, and I don't mind at all. Instead of having them destroyed, they come up against this monster. And they, of course, attack him. And when the smoke clears, there's more. And we will find out what happens to Gray and Nova in the next episode. Number 4 of Gray by Yoshihisa Tagami tomorrow. As for nonsense, I really kind of just want to talk about stories. I don't care what's going on in politics. Trump and J.D. Vance are both Zionists. We're going to end up in a war with Iran because that's what's good for the Jewish economy. I say boycott, divest, sanction, and ghost all Jews. Drive them out of your life. Let them know what you think about them. They believe that you are cattle. But that's aside from that. I want to talk about stories. And I'm thinking about whether or not we can do a Lone Ranger type story, and how would I do it without an exposition character. And so me and a friend of mine are working on something called the Empty Bottles Protocol, where some demons are able to use glass the way the Kryptons used it in the first Star Wars movie, where they put those guys in the Phantom Zone and they were just a piece of glass spinning out through space. And this is in lots of magic. There's mirror magic. Glass has been used as portals for a long time. The Black Mirror is the #1 piece of occult magic, or a crystal ball. You know, it's a seer magic where you divine things. Astral projection's a real bit. I never got into it. I never tried it. There's nothing. The only person I want to get anything from is me. You know, all that stuff is about stealing information from another country or manipulating people. Most of magic seems like it's built around manipulating people for money or sex. And I want to earn my own money, and paying for sex is no fun, and manipulated sex is no fun. So I have no interest in that. Magic holds no interest for me the way it's presented in the modern day. And it's really interesting that the Jews are so uptight about it, because they're greedy and they're sex fiends and they have no self-control. So again, what does that have to do with me writing stories about a single character and not having a companion for exposition dialogue? Nothing really. But what am I going to write it about? I'm going to write it about the evil in the world. And that evil is people robbing people and kidnapping children for, you know, exploitation. So, yeah, everything that's going on in the world is the world's karma, and it will balance itself out. That's all I got to say for today. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.